I mean, the timing always off with this White House. It's kind of shocking. And you see these tweets and you're like, are they living in the same universe we are? Are they living in a parallel world? I mean, you even try to figure out an explanation for it. Like maybe there's a reason they did this at this time. And then you're like, no, I can't think of any reason. So I want to start the show off with exactly what I said in the tease. If you missed the tease, President Biden and the White House announced yesterday the launching of an Islamophobia task force as anti-Semitism against Jews, based off their own FBI Director Christopher Wray, is what is plaguing the U.S. so dangerously right now.
I am proud to announce the Biden-Harris administration will develop our nation's first national strategy to counter Islamophobia. This strategy will be a comprehensive and detailed plan to protect Muslims and those perceived to be Muslim from hate, bigotry, and violence, and to address the concern that some government policies may discriminate against Muslims.
With our domestic issues we're facing here in the U.S. And this new threat of terrorism that we were told about yesterday by our FBI director, and then today we're told, there's that huge threat of terrorism, especially against Jews in America, by basically every hate group in America. But the council we're going to announce today is the Islamophobia Council, because this is a time when Americans are really thinking about, it's Muslims who seem like they're under attack, when instead radical extremists, some of them not even Muslims, just liberal college kids, are protesting for, free Palestine, kill the Jews in the streets. I don't see a lot of anti-Palestinian protests where anybody is using violent language, and especially not any general anti-Muslim protest, because that would be wrong.
I never thought, Mr. Secretary, that I would live to see the kind of anti-Semitism I am seeing right this moment. And then to have the White House at the very pinnacle of this anti-Semitism, when they announced the arrest of the student that was harassing the Jewish students at Cornell that could not even go to their kosher dining facility, that have classes are being canceled and they're doing them by Zoom, that the administration would come out with their task force on Islamophobia. I see a lot of pro-Palestinian marches going on. I don't see very many pro-Israel ones, and I certainly don't see many pro-Israel student groups going out there. But the day they announce the arrest of the student that was harassing the Jewish students, the White House announces we now have a task force on Islamophobia.
It is insane.
Yes.
It is tone deaf. It is illogical. You picked the descriptor at this peak moment here in the United States, where we have seen not only, just uninformed, ignorant kids who are in college who have been brainwashed by their faculty, but those institutions that have an obligation to know better just fail in the most fundamental duty to protect every student on their campus, to watch Jewish students have to hide, to be fearful. I've seen it on campuses all across the country. And to then have the White House go out and say, gosh, the biggest problem we face today is Islamophobia, is among the most indecent things I have seen. And to see the vice president go out and make an announcement like this, she should be ashamed of herself. It is not only indecent, but dangerous as well. We know that the threat today isn't to young students on campus who are pro-Palestinian protesters. No one's truly organized threats against them. There are organized threats against those of us who believe in Israel, believe in Zionism, and especially to Jewish students on campus. Those institutions have a duty to protect them, and to watch our government fundamentally misunderstand the risk today on our campuses and all across America. I've not seen anything quite like that, even from an administration that I think has let us down in so many ways.
We see Christopher Wray testify very openly and honestly about the issues Jews are facing right here in the United States, that this group of just 2.4 million people face 60% of the religious hate crimes. And the next day, the vice president is announcing this council on Islamophobia. I think that, one, Americans, even after 9/11 showed, we don't have a major problem with Islamophobia. There are radical extremists on Americans who have bad views on people, but most Americans are good people and respect you if you respect them. Why, again, is it purely politics that they announced this because they don't want to lose the votes from the squad?
Jordan, I think you've hit the nail on the head. That's all I can imagine it is. It's politics that's responding to pressure groups in the extreme radical left that are pushing this. This is un-American, what they're talking about. We have Jewish citizens that are fearful of their lives here in America. Even one of my own colleagues suffered a severe threat, Jackie Rosen. We've got to bring this under control instead of pandering. We need to be standing strong with Israel and with our Jewish neighbors right here in America. It's totally unacceptable when you have these threatening protests taking place in our cities and on our college campuses that are making young Jewish people, elderly Jewish people, anybody of that faith deeply concerned. And when Christopher Wray comes out, as you aptly mentioned, and highlights the fact that the vast majority of these hate crimes in America taking place on American soil, I don't condone any hate crime. You know that. We're against that.
Right.
At every level, but the disproportionate impact of that on our Jewish citizens and the fact that it's gone up over 400% since October the 7th is alarming.
The administration appears to be totally tone deaf. They announced yesterday that they're starting a task force on Islamophobia. That was the same day that Christopher Wray testified before Congress, saying that the 60% of the hate crimes that are religiously motivated are against Jews. 60%, and they only represent 2.6% of the population. And the response from the White House on that is, let's have a task force on Islamophobia. It appears they're totally tone deaf.
Yeah, I think, it's been called out in the media. I did an interview yesterday with Larry Kudlow. He accurately coined it. He basically said what they're doing, they meaning the Biden White House, are pandering to the far left extreme radicals in their own party. These are the ones that are doing the pro-Palestinian, rallies in the cities and on our college campuses. These are the people that are, basically aligning themselves, with Nazism, and they are so desperate to maintain this quote broad coalition of fringe groups and activist groups that have, certainly radical views based on, the where most of America is, but they're willing to do anything to pander to them to keep them in the boat, so to speak. So that in critical congressional districts like in Michigan, they're able to continue to use these people, and they're going to the White House. These groups are going to the White House. Pressure groups are going to the White House, saying, "Look, we helped you, Joe Biden. We went door to door campaigning for you, Joe Biden, back in 2020 to help you win that election, and you're going to lose us if you don't start catering to us." And that's where you see, Kamala Harris come out with this pandering.
Let me tell you what the worst part of this is. Rising anti-Semitism to heights we haven't seen since Germany 1930 are happening in the United States of America. And on that very day when they arrest the Cornell student who was threatening the Jewish students, on that very day, the White House decides to come out with a task force on Islamophobia. Now, think about this. Jews and Israelis are being slaughtered in their own country. Anti-Semitism, Christopher Wray said, the highest it's ever been. And Islamophobia is what's on the mind of the Biden White House.